The first gentleman was elected as the youngest state treasurer ever in the state of Illinois, and I think at the time the youngest in the country. He's made remarkable progress in the office, done some fundamental changes in that office. He's really done a good job. He is also, in case you hadn't heard, he is also a candidate for the U.S. Senate position vacated by President Barack Obama. And please help me welcome our State Treasurer, Alexi Giannoulias.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship. I want to thank the County Chairman's Association for doing such an outstanding job every single year. I want to thank our friends in organized labor who work so hard on behalf of so many people to make this state a better place so that we can create the next generation of good-paying jobs. Thank you to everyone in organized labor. And I want to thank everyone in this room for all of your hard work, for all of your sacrifices, many of which are never seen by candidates and elected officials. Whether it's knocking on doors, whether it's making phone calls, whether it's taking vacation days to help a candidate that you believe in, these all require sacrifices, require you taking time away from your family. And on behalf of all of us, democratically elected officials, let me say thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you do for all of us. We would not be where we are without all of you. I also want to thank you on a personal level for supporting me as we've transformed the Illinois State Treasurer's Office into the most proactive, transparent, and effective fiscal office in the nation. I want to thank you for encouraging me and supporting me with such enthusiasm and energy in my run for the United States Senate. And I want to thank you for being the party of hope and opportunity. You see, America is the great nation that she is today because of the Democratic Party. We have been the party that has stood up for the common man. We've been the party of principle and conscience. And we've been the party that has ventured forward with new ideas and new perspectives. For if there's anything that's defined our party, that's defined us, it's that we have burning inside us a fierce courage to constantly seek out the best of ourselves and society. Simply put, we've kept America the land of the free by being the home of the brave. We were brave enough to demand that women get the right to vote when they weren't allowed to. We were brave enough to stand up and point out the painfully obvious that separate but equal wasn't equal at all. We were brave enough to stand up for the American worker time and time again, decade after decade, as we demanded safer workplaces, fair and better wages, and equal pay. We were brave enough to stand up and sound the alarm on an ill-conceived, mismanaged, and unnecessary war. We were brave enough to stand up for the American consumer and for the environment, demanding clean water, clean air, and safe food for our families. We were brave enough to send a man to the moon, to lead this country out of the Great Depression, to guide us to victory during dangerous wars, and to teach our young men and women that if you reach for the stars, then maybe you will find yourself among them. And just recently, we were brave enough to nominate a young Illinois senator named Barack Obama to be our nominee for president when all the pundits questioned whether America was ready for a black president. But voters demanded a new, brighter course for this nation. Democrats knew America was ready. Whenever our party has pushed forward whenever we have challenged the status quo, whenever we have raised our collective voices in a roar for reason, for common sense, and for justice, we knew America was ready for progress because we know the heart of America. We know what makes the worker pour his blood and sweat into his calling. We know what makes the mother work 2 jobs to put her children through school. We know what makes the teacher reach out to her students, what makes the volunteer give of his time, and what makes the soldier put on the uniform of a hero. It's a hope, an outreached hand for a better tomorrow. It's optimism, pure and simple. And it's our party that offers this promise of America. And it is now, more than ever, that we need to harness that courage that's defined our party into action. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you this, that the decisions that are made in Washington, D.C. over the next few years will determine the course that this country takes for generations. For let it be said, when our great-grandchildren and their grandchildren are flipping through their history books many years from now, that the America they will know will be the realization of our great progressive vision. And while America may never be a perfect union, not even for our great-grandchildren, that has never stopped the Democratic Party from fighting and from striving. So let's continue our great tradition. Let's continue the blend of hard work and visionary ideas that has brought America this far, and let's lead this state and this amazing nation into a new era of accomplishments and greatness. In order to lead this country forward, we're going to make sure that Senator Dick Durbin, the finest United States Senator in the country, and President Obama have a true ally in the United States Senate, which is why I've announced my candidacy for the United States Senate seat once held by our President, and which is why I am humbly asking for your support for my campaign. And if I'm fortunate enough to be the Democratic nominee, then we need to talk about a few things with my potential Republican opponent. You see, the people of Illinois have a chance to hire someone to take the job once held by President Barack Obama. And in this extremely important job interview, we have to ask ourselves some very important questions, and I want to hear your thoughts. Would you hire someone who voted for every one of the Bush budgets that created the biggest budget deficits in the history of the country? Would you hire someone who voted with Bush to stop Medicare from negotiating lower prices on medicine for seniors from the big drug companies? I can't hear you guys. Would you hire someone who voted for Bush trade policies that shipped thousands of Illinois manufacturing jobs to places like China and India? Would you hire someone, a guy who voted against equal pay for women and against raising the minimum wage, but voted for raising his own pay twice? Does that sound good to all of you? That's much better. It's bad enough that we've had Mark Kirk rubber stamping the Bush economic disaster for the better part of the last 10 years. He hasn't earned a promotion. In fact, Mark Kirk is the one who actually deserves a pink slip. So, ladies and gentlemen, next November, voters will have a stark choice between a failed past or a promising future. And if all of you believe, as I do, in the very promising future of this great nation, then you will join me on this extraordinary journey so we can continue to push this great state and this great nation forward. Thank you all very much, and God bless you all.